I'm Tony Stark. I build neat stuff. I got a great girl. And occasionally, save the world. So why can't I sleep?
Here's a little advice for all you superheroes out there. Do not openly give the villain your home address. I don't know why anybody would do that. Tony Stark does that, and they fuck his life up.
Well, you know what? It's weird, too, because Tony Stark's never been known for arrogance or hubris.
I know. He protects that secret identity so carefully, man. It's not like he came out in public and said, hey, everybody, I'm Iron Man.
He is the one guy who would do that. I'm surprised he didn't like get in front of the cameras and beat his chest like, come on, come on.
It took 3 movies to finally get to that point where it's like, hey, it doesn't count all the time to be a douche. You know?
No, he did some ghetto shit. Got on TV. Motherfucker, you can find me at 309 Industrial Avenue. I'll be leaving the door open for you. I'll leave the light on for you.
WWF or something up there?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm waiting for you. Mandarin, I'll tell you, brother. You come after me if you want to. But you better come after me strong, brother.
You gotta go to a Slim Jim. But I mean, you gotta admit, he was all like, yeah, and I'm gonna leave the door open. And immediately he was like, hey, make sure you lock all the doors.
Here's a little holiday greeting I've been wanting to send to the Mandarin. I just didn't know how to phrase it until now. My name is Tony Stark, and I'm not afraid of you. I know you're a coward. So I've decided that you just died, pal. I'm gonna come get the body. There's no politics here, it's just good old-fashioned revenge. There's no Pentagon, it's just you and me. And on the off chance you're a man, here's my home address. 10880 Malibu Point, 90265. I'll leave the door unlocked.
Yeah, this is the one where Tony Stark, I mean, they blow his shit up, and he has to rely on himself as Tony Stark, not so much as Iron Man. Don't have that suit to come in and save his ass. In fact, I think Jarvis does most of the work in this movie more than he does. That robot. True. Every time Tony Stark gets in trouble, he's on the phone. Jarvis! Help!
Just made me just that more disappointed that Jarvis doesn't have a black voice. I don't get it. Come on, Morgan Freeman. Come on. You know you want that stuff. Yeah, you know you were looking for that word.
It would be fun if he had was switching through the voices. Like, fuck you, I'm gonna switch to another. Hey, what's up, Holmes?
Hey, boss.
You don't want Morgan Freeman. You want Medea. Uh-huh. I told you this was gonna happen.
You in trouble again? That darn boy. No, you don't want that.
You need to get your ass whipped. That's what
you need to get to church, Tony Stark.
Actually, what they need is the hologram of a black man who looks like the shoe shine guy in the airport. Just shining Tony Stark suits.
Or bag of Vans.
Just Liam
trouble
Neeson
again, Mr. Stark.
Just Liam Neeson, who wouldn't take any shit from Tony Stark at that point. It's like, quick, Jarvis, send the suit.
I know.
I don't think so, Tony.
I don't need a goddamn suit.
I told you you have a very specific set of suits.
I have a suit on already. No, never mind. You can take care of it. No, this one's been hyped up as being the Iron Man that you've been waiting for a while, simply because of a name. Yeah, because of a name that's attached to it. Shane Black. Shane Black is, of course, the writer of at least the good Lethal Weapon movies. Did he write all of them? He didn't write all of them.
I think he just wrote the first one, and then I think he was story consultant on the second. But
and then he directed
Last Action Boy Scout, or Last Action Hero.
The Last Boy Scout.
The Last Boy Scout. Not the Last Action Hero. God damn, what the hell's wrong with me? The one with that one with Gina Davis, where she was the assassin. The Long Kiss Goodnight.
The Long Kiss.
It's a really underappreciated, cool little movie. And then, of course, he wrote and directed Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is fucking
which
fantastic.
starred Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah,
which I think is
which probably led directly into him being Tony Stark.
That was Robert Downey Jr.'s first big hey, welcome back, Robbie.
Yeah. In fact, I think Shane Black didn't have no money. He said, "Come on, Robert, man, I did you a favor. I need this job, man. All right, man, let me talk to somebody."
Too bad for old Val Kilmer though. Didn't do shit for him.
Well, he wouldn't stop eating.
Yeah,
he became Kit, right? That's what
his head has to start fitting through doors before he can go to auditions anymore. But
any man have any really fat, bloated villains? Nothing comes.
For Val Kilmer, you have the Iron Man suit, and then from the head up, you have a tank.
That would be funny if he was the first choice and he showed up for the screen test and they were just like, oh man, this is just not gonna work.
Yeah, Val Kilmer went from being Batman to being the Batmobile. don't know how that happened.
And not even the Slim Batmobile, like the one from the Dark Knight Rises.
Wow, Val Kilmer was, he'd be like, man, I'm not even in this movie. Come on, y'all talking about Iron Man. Leave me
How come
alone.
those boys at Spill always fucking with me?
But I'm talking about my head. I can't help it.
But that's not the only. Robert Downey Jr. is not the only thing Shane Black brought over from the rest of his career in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He brought Christmas.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, yeah, he loved
Almost
Christmas.
every single one of his fucking movies, it's always goddamn Christmas time.
There's even a Christmas Story joke in there when you watch
Oh,
it.
that's right, there is.
And it's a funny joke. We
It
won't
is.
spoil it for you, but it is a very funny joke, which is pretty much to the credit of this movie. There's a lot of good humor in here, a lot of good lines, and that's what you want from Tony Stark. Tony Stark, I mean, you said it, Cyrus. He's the guy. He's the ego guy. You know,
Yeah.
he's the guy that he don't give a fuck. He comes in a room, always has something smart ass to say. Don't care about you. Don't care about kids. Don't care about your mama. He's all about
Unless your
himself.
mama's fine. He'll care then.
Yeah.
Oh, if your mama's fine, yeah, you ain't gonna see your mama for at least 24 hours. But
As they said earlier in the film, it's like, oh, it's funny, I don't remember that guy. It's like, oh yeah, he wasn't a blonde with a huge rack. I wonder why.
but in this one, it's also where, I mean, we feel like Tony Stark maybe learned a little something from the Avengers. Even when Nick Fury sat him down and said, "Now look, boy, I told you, you need to settle down a little bit." But in this one, he's dealing with an international terrorist called the Mandarin, the mysterious Mandarin, who might or might not be in cahoots with another billionaire industrialist / scientist. What's this guy's name? Killian?
Sam Rockwell?
Guy Pearce.
Yeah, Guy Pearce. That's right.
Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce as Aldrich Killian, who has invented this virus, the extremist virus, which pretty much turns people into ticking lava time bombs. And
Some shit like
Well,
that.
it comes from an experiment. They were like trying, once again, somebody's trying to recreate the secret super soldier serum that made Captain America, but it went this way.
yeah, they messed up again. And also, it's another serum they're trying to create to grow limbs. Just if you lost a limb, just leave it alone.
I
Because
know.
if you grow your
I
limb
know.
back, you're going to be evil.
Yeah, they should ask Peter Parker to come in. Like, yeah, my professor, he tried that. It did not work
I
out well
fought
at
this
all.
guy. Yeah, you're going to either be a reptile or a lava man or something.
So
Just
when
leave
the
it
Winter
alone.
Soldier comes around, we already know he's gonna be like, "Fuck that! Just give me the cyborg arm."
I like this movie, man. I think it's a perfect summer movie. It's a great action film, and once again, Tony Stark is charming.
Well, that's the thing is, it's not a perfect movie, and a lot of people are harping a lot on some of the minor flaws that it has, and they're there. There's some corny bits towards the end. There's something I consider to be a pretty big hole in the plot that leads to the big last action sequence. I don't want to say here because it'll ruin it, but who gives a shit? This is so much fun all the way through. Great snappy dialogue, very Shane Black type moments all the way throughout where he really gets the best performance out of Robert Downey Jr., balancing the dickhead Tony Stark to the guy who, all right, I admit it, I have a heart. Tony
Yeah.
Stark.
Well, it is a delicate balance because as we saw in Iron Man 2, where he was just the dick part and not that funny. It's like, wow, yeah, he's dying, but so what? I don't care. But what I like so much about this movie is that unlike Iron Man 2 felt like, okay, it's a sequel. It's very much a sequel. It's kind of like a knockoff, lesser version of the first one. And here, there's a different tone. It's, it manages to keep the humor that we loved, but it's also very dark. I mean, you watch Tony Stark, just like as you said, Corey, his world gets blown up. And the hits just keep on coming for a long time. You're like, damn, this motherfucker can't catch a break. But as far as, it's like saying, yeah, it's not a perfect movie. Like, what is a perfect movie? But as far as
Dark Knight?
Thank you.
Didn't want to interject that, but,
guys,
you know.
I'm sorry, but as much as I love The Dark Knight, even it's not a perfect movie. And you both know that.
It's all subjective.
No, I don't know that.
To me, it's a perfect movie.
I'll sit there and point it out if I have to.
You send me that memo.
I don't want
Nothing to point out. You're wrong.
Yeah, I know.
I'll point that out.
I'm staying out
Okay,
of this
well,
one.
if you choose not to see it, that's fine.
Switzerland declares neutrality on the Dark Knight issue.
I think we've all. I think it's fair to say we've all seen it more than once, Leon. Yeah, so
Well, what about you, co-host?
you're right, Corey. It was a fun movie. It was a fun popcorn movie, and
I think you have some problems with it.
It was okay. I did. I mean, I understand that, now these Iron Man movies are becoming, comedies, which I'm cool. Yeah, it does cater to the personality of Tony Stark. My only problem with it is that it also tends to, that dialogue that Tony Stark usually has for himself, I see now seeping into all the other characters, where this movie felt like all these characters were almost written by one person. I really didn't feel any kind of distinction, even between Pepper and some of these other minor characters. But the biggest problem I had was with the villain. The villain seemed like
Which villain?
Like the main villain,
Played by Ben Kingsley.
Played by Guy Pearce. Where
you're talking about Aldrich
Killian, yeah, where I'm like, this kind of is like a rehash of the Sam Rockwell character I saw in part 2, even though, he, at the very beginning when you're introduced to him, he's pretty much playing Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma, which I was like scratching my head. I was like, wow.
At the very beginning?
Yeah, at the very beginning, I was like, wow, he's really dying to do that Riddler role in the Nolan movie.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
That time is gone, but
you're right. It is one of those. It's another one of those situations where you have the cocky billionaire blowing off the nerdy guy who he doesn't realize later is not only going to become rich, powerful, but also just as good looking as you are
exactly,
too.
just as
going
good
after
looking.
Yoho.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wow, this is really mirroring Batman Forever. But oh well, it's Iron Man. But yeah, I had a problem with the villains because they just didn't seem like all that strong villains, especially when you get towards the end, where I was like, man, there's a lot of things that just aren't meshing well together with me when I think of the context of the whole movie.
Yeah.
After I see it, it just didn't really bode well to me. Plus, I'm getting a little tired of everyone can be Iron Man now. I just that left a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, wow, one Iron Man suit does fit all.
But that's why I think it worked. That's why it worked in this film, because like while it's true that he can like put other people in the suit if he wants, not anybody else can be Tony Stark.
Yeah, exactly.
And this movie really focuses on that's the important key quality of Iron Man and why he's as awesome as he is. It's not the suit. It's fucking Tony Stark being in it that makes Iron Man so awesome.
I like how it focused on like there's so much of the time that he's not in the suit and he has to fend for himself. And it's like, wow, it's great to see that, like the man inside, and even Rhodes gets more of a shot to do things.
Exactly.
He's barely in the suit as well, but you see him as a colonel, as a man of action. I was like, hey, this is all right.
Yeah, I would see. I see what you're saying, Coles, because I mean I had some of the same problems you did, but you're right. At first, I was thinking the same thing. We have, fortunately, the same black man from the last movie. They didn't switch black man again. We have Don Cheadle as Colonel Rhodey Rhodes.
Was going, come on phone,
Yeah.
come on phone.
No, we get Don Cheadle again, James Rhodey Rhodes, and this time he was called Warhammer. They thought
War Machine.
War Machine. They thought for marketing purposes that Iron Patriot would be better because now he wears an Iron Man suit that's all red, white, and blue with stars. And when I saw that, I thought, well, if anybody can put this suit on, then so be it. Well, why should I care about Iron Man or Tony Stark for that matter? But Cyrus is right. See, if you put this in the context of the three movies, what you have is the first movie. You have one of the best origin superhero movies out there, one of the best origin stories out there. The second movie felt too much like they were really trying to put that into the next phase of the Avengers.
It was sequelitis.
Yeah, it didn't feel like
it's
it was
a commercial for the Avengers.
Exactly. It felt like they were trying to promote another movie too much. But this one is the one where Tony Stark becomes he becomes part Bruce Wayne, part super spy, part James Bond, and there's so, and I don't know if this is going to disappoint people, but there are a lot of scenes where he has to try to figure out things by making even super gadgets. You know, he makes guns and he makes weapons out of stuff that he gets from Home Depot. Yeah, he's MacGyver.
He is pretty much MacGyver.
Yeah, he's MacGyver. But the thing that you say about the villain, I'm gonna have to warn fans, the true comic book fans out there, and I'm not one of them. And I was a little baffled by this. I absolutely hate what they did with the Mandarin.
Oh, see,
I hate
I'm on the exact opposite page.
I was thrown at first, but then I was like, you know what? I don't have a problem with this.
Well, see, the thing is, I love Ben Kingsley's performance. Ben Kingsley, he's very mysterious, and he's coming out in these interrupted telecasts, and he's coming in and threatening people and shooting people on camera and all this kind of stuff. And they reveal more about him, and the more you reveal about him, the more you like him, actually. But what they do with that character, I felt they hyped that up for a big letdown.
See, I kind of had the opposite reaction because I was there with you where it's like just when you're watching it, you're like, okay, really? But I don't know. With the Mandarin, I was like, okay, are they trying to make this guy another Joker, especially with Ben Kingsley doing this voice where he's like, well, you'll never see me coming. Why so serious?
Is he Nixon or the Joker?
I was like, who is this guy? What is he trying to be? But I mean, but when you're watching it, I was like, you know what, the Mandarin character himself within the comics is pretty stupid. Every time I kept hearing they wanted to throw him in the movie, I'm like, don't do that. You're going to lose everybody. But I thought what they did with him was really kind of clever.
It was a clever twist, and in fact, to me, we always complain too many villains in the movies. This neatly fixed that issue in a very cool way, I thought, that made the film more streamlined, really, without having to worry too much about, like, oh, I gotta fight this guy, now I gotta fight this guy, then yada yada. Yeah. And it was just one of those things, like, I admit, I have never, ever seen that as the twist in a film. Like, I was like, okay, that's new, and I believe it. So
I'm not mad at Justin. Shut up!
Shut up! I hate you, Cyrus.
Besides that big twist, what I liked was how the movie had lots of little twists all through it, where something was playing out, and it's like, okay, and then just like that next scene, they go like, ha! They flipped that. That's pretty cool. I mean, it constantly kept that going. And most of these movies, they have a pattern. You kind of know. It's like you go, you sit down, you want this, they give you what you asked for, and everybody goes home happy. And I was happy that this had like lots of little things to just keep you on your toes and keep it interesting the whole time. And okay, maybe every decision wasn't for everybody. For me, I never had a problem with any of them. And Cyrus pointed out a hole in the plot that I was like, man, I've been trying to get around it, and I can't. It is a big hole, but at the same time, when I watched it, didn't disappoint me in the least. And there's so much of this story that's pulled from the comics. I went and reread Extremis today, and it's like, oh, it's interesting how they took a part here and put that in the back, put this in the front.
I bet the Mandarin wasn't.
Bet you that part was.
No, that comes later.
You don't even read Iron Man.
I know, exactly.
Why do you care?
I don't need to.
But you know
I
what?
speak for the fans.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the other thing with Iron Man is that, like you said, once getting back to the villain of it, is like, reading Iron Man comics, I mean, that's always been the weakest part of a lot of Marvel comics is the villain. But I mean, with the character of Tony Stark, where, when I was walking in this movie, I was thinking about what I saw in the trailer. I was like, okay, this is going to be the Tony Stark story. This is going to be who this man really is, how this Iron Man whole thing is really affecting him. And I was really looking forward to that story in this movie. I just felt like whatever they had of it that was going on, it wasn't enough. And it didn't resonate with me well enough to let me know that this guy was really struggling with who he was. There's just some scenes where it plays with that idea, but then it gets lost because it's trying to do comedy too much. Especially with the kid. There's a scene where he runs into this kid, and there's this whole bit with him and this kid. This kid's helping him out, and I'm like, you know what? This is too much. I can't. I really. This isn't working for me. It's like that thing with Hollywood movies. Sometimes stay away from the kids.
But I think here I like the way it worked with the kid, because that's the perfect example of that balance between Tony Stark being a complete dick because he treats his kid like shit, and then having a heart of gold because he'll treat him like shit and then do something nice for him. And it's like, wow, that's Tony Stark. Totally. He is genuinely irritated by this kid, but he realizes this kid is helping him, so he's still trying to do what he can. I will agree with you though that the whole imbalance between the dramatic side of what's happening to Tony Stark, which is the PTSD he's experiencing from the events towards the ends of the Avengers, which felt a little like, really? You're still haunted by that? All right, it didn't haunt me. But
weren't the one in the wormhole?
Weren't you guys eating shawarma?
I would have been haunted by the part with the giant metal dragon thing came around the corner personally. Be like, holy shit!
That's what I'd be having nightmares about, not falling through the wormhole.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure you guys would have nightmares about both.
Yeah, I would have been taking a Hulk-sized shit if I had seen it.
But no, the PTSD stuff is like, it's awkward when it happens. It's just to kind of like punctuate a scene. It's like, this doesn't really fit in here, but he needed something. He needed to be struggling with a part of himself that he hadn't worked out himself.
And that's what I wanted.
Even more, they needed to point you back toward the Avengers franchise.
Well, they did. But I agree with you. I didn't really understand the whole PTS thing. I thought that was leading to something. That didn't. I like the stuff with the kid. I thought it went on a little too long.
Yeah.
Because there's some great dialogue with him and that kid. Kid is played by this little old girly-looking boy. Ty
played by Robin.
Yeah.
He's probably a fan of the site, and now he's crying.
Yeah, that stuff with the kid is like, it's like it popped up, and I was like, okay, I know that I don't like these kind of things. So it's like, but this dialogue is actually pretty good.
Well, the dialogue is good. And that kid actually looks like the adult version of the guy who played Anakin Skywalker. I thought it was actually him at first. But I thought they just went on a little bit too long, and the conclusion they had was a little too cute with me. I agree with you on the humor, because that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, could I ask you a question on what bothered you with the dramatic parts? Mm-hmm. And there's some things in here, especially near the end, where there's some things that should completely horrify Tony Stark. And he's still having, maybe he doesn't give a line, but he's still having comedic takes. He's still having comedic reactions to things. And I just thought, I don't know if I would be that aloof after seeing what I just saw.
Yeah, why does everything have to be a joke? Why does every situation have to have a punchline? All the time.
But
are you guys completely not aware that that's how he deals with everything?
I was going to say that's Tony Stark.
He internalized. I mean, that's his defense mechanism.
No, I don't. But see, there's a point where I think you're just trying to entertain the audience and you're not developing this character. There's a point with this character where he's funny, and to humanize him, pull back on the jokes. Mm-hmm. I don't need you to react that way to everything.
He's not Spider-Man.
Because everybody in this movie is reacting to everywhere the same. In fact, this movie stops at one point and even turns into a lethal weapon. Tony Stark nor Don Cheadle have on an Iron Man suit, and they turned into Mel Gibbs and Dan Glover, man, for a moment.
They do.
And that's bad. Why?
I didn't say that was bad. I didn't say it was bad. I just said that there's you get a lot of moments like that, and so the movie kind of has this continuing humor that at one point is just constantly there and doesn't humanize the characters as much as I think they could. I have complaints about the movie, but I like the movie. I do. I had a lot of fun watching it. Listen, don't let me sit up here and act like I'm just being a curmudgeon about this, because I'm gonna tell you, there's about 3 action scenes in this movie that had me on edge.
Yeah.
You see in the trailer the scene where all these people are sucked out of a plane and Iron Man has to try to catch them all. That is amazing. I mean, it made me so nervous watching. I knew it was going to happen.
Well, it made me nervous when they were blowing up his house, because it's one thing to see the trailer, but it goes on for so long, and it's just like, fucking shit.
Fuck his house.
That was pretty effective. But once again, another huge complaint I had was with the epic final climax. It did not resonate well with me at all. And I'm sure we've all seen the trailers with the bunch of Iron Man coming to town and it just turned into a big mess. I thought there was a lot of nothing going on with that scene.
Oh wow, I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, I didn't feel that way either. I was impressed by
it felt empty to me, kind of like when you watch like the Phantom Menace with the big battle scene at the ship, and all these things are flying around in the background. I felt nothing.
I could tell
anything
what was going
on.
And
yeah,
I thought what I liked best about it was like, hey, here's an Iron Man battle that's not just a clone of the battles from the other movies. They're actually trying to do something different with this battle, and it worked. It was interesting. I mean, the idea that he has to keep running from suit to suit just to be able that each has its own different advantages to be able to just
was
beat
amazing.
this guy.
No, I think
thought that was pretty
the
awesome.
choreography that it took to pull that off. I was amazed
the
by
final scene is amazing. I think even Josh Whedon saw a couple of action scenes and he just said,
God
man.
damn. Ripped his gold chains off.
He was nothing.
Your science is too
He
tight.
got down on his knees and kissed Shane's black hand.
That makes me worried for the Avengers too, I have to say.
Well, I will say that I think it's an amazing scene. It's fun to watch.
I don't think
it doesn't
it needed-
emotionally resonate with me like you said, but it's fun to
Yeah,
watch.
if it doesn't emotionally resonate,
I love watching it.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's pretty
because it's empty
it is
suits
pretty.
that are getting destroyed, so there's no human factor.
But
No,
I
it's
don't
not
think
even.
it needed fireworks at the end, to be clear. But that being said, that was Shane Black going, I love Christmas.
It makes you think, man, how many suits does he have? I mean,
He's a trillionaire.
Don't think too hard, because even that, I was like, wait a minute, you had an army of aliens. And, never mind.
Yeah, you didn't call them.
I need to stop thinking.
You know what? For all this shit that's happening, why don't you get on the phone and just say, "Hey, Nick, can I call a favor here, man?"
Now, they do mention that he built those suits after the Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
no.
that's the whole thing. Is like
It's
saying
like all that time he was staying
all
awake.
he's been doing is like just working and working and working.
I'm just saying, his house is
Wait,
getting
no,
blown
they
up,
say it
man.
in there.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
no,
know,
you know what?
repeatedly.
I'm just saying, when his house is getting blown up, he could have gone on his cell phone and said, "Hey, Nick, man, my shit's getting blown up. I saved New York. Can I get some help?"
Yeah, but you know what?
What's that? I can't quite hear you. I'm on Sprint.
Nigga that filed his toenails.
Yeah, but Nick Fury has this way of going, and what will you be doing for me?
Will you appear in Avengers 2? You haven't signed that
Or
contract
he's probably
yet.
saying, "Stark, if I help you, you won't learn. You can do this on your own. All right? Okay, goodbye."
Say, hey man, I saw you on TV. You asked for that shit.
Yeah, shit, don't bring me into this shit.
Thinking about that though, especially with after the events of the Avengers, I think with every movie we're going to see now that, the sequels to Thor and Captain America, that's the thing that keeps running in my head. Like, now all these guys. So when you have big events happening, what's going to justify you not calling up for real backup that you can depend on.
Because Thor is fighting elves and...
Well, and it even got mentioned. It's like, hey, this isn't a superhero battle. This is just a terrorist, and so this is on you.
So terrorism should be treated differently.
Because the point where Iron Patriot says like
Super terrorist.
Well, it's not like
Iron Patriot,
Spider-Man.
he says to Don Cheadle, like, hey, how come you didn't call me on this? He's like, man, you fought with the Avengers and Galactic stuff. This is just a terrorist. I take care of stuff like this.
All I thought was, where's his buddy the Hulk? The guy he drove off into the sunset.
You can't call the Hulk
best friend ever. Where is he?
The Hulk has a tendency to make a bigger problem than the one you started out with.
The Hulk is somebody that you only call out when you've got a galaxy-eating monster to deal with.
If he had called the Hulk when they were blowing up Tony Stark's house, the villains would have just watched. They would have said, well, Hulk is doing it all for us.
I'm sorry, but that's like getting rid of your star quarterback whenever you're playing a game. That does not make any sense
Getting rid
to
of your
me.
star quarterback who is coked up and not playing right. He's going crazy. He's throwing the ball to the opposite team. You know?
That's so different from football that you guys. What do you guys
If you got a
guys
star
watch football,
quarterback
right?
who murders the other team.
I mean,
Once again, what is wrong with
to even ask that question though is kind of akin to saying like, "Oh, come on, like people can fly." I mean, it's comic books. That's how they've always worked. If that was the case, every comic book would have every
team.
superhero in it.
Why shouldn't
You just gotta go. Look, these guys have like shit of their own to deal with.
They should be on call 24 hours like the fire department.
Captain America's fucking with Hydra. And Thor's beating whoever the fuck up in space.
Hey, Captain America's like, I would be there, but I just got served with a paternity suit. I got my own shit to deal with, man.
Well, you've heard my criticism. You've heard my praise for it. It all comes to a pretty high matinee. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, I give it a high full price because when I think back to it, I can't think of anything I don't like. I mean, you say, are there any flaws? Yeah, I guess so, but none of them were bothering me at the time. It fixed a lot of things that Iron Man 2 really dropped the ball on and gave me so much, like I said, it's got a darker tone. I love that it just feels different. It feels more like what you should follow Iron Man, the original Iron Man up with, and you can skip to. And I love that what Shane Black brought to it. Humor, slightly different, but still the kind of thing you want, and a great Tony Stark. Yeah, it's a high full price to me. I'm probably going to go see it again.
So?
Yeah, so?
He's like rubbing it in my face. I'm going to see it again.
I wasn't even looking at you.
Yeah, no, that's a lie. You weren't looking at me.
He was thinking
because you're the fucking moderator.
Oh, is that why? Okay, I thought you were getting.
He was thinking about you, though, Corey.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should be wearing glasses right now.
Somebody give him his medication.
I'm sick, y'all. I really am. I got chills.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a fun movie, and it's actually better than 2. I don't know, it just didn't hit those marks that I was really hoping that it would, because whenever there's a story about a superhero where you have to get down to the man inside the suit, those stories for some reason should seem a little bit more personal and not so much more comedy. But I don't know, it does have its moments. But like I had said, the villain, I just didn't really, it didn't hit me. Yeah. So I'm giving it a matinee. It's a fun movie, but it's just a fun popcorn movie for me.
It's funny, the fact that during this review you made a point of saying The Dark Knight is a perfect movie and this isn't, says everything about why you have more of a problem with this being funny and not dramatic enough. Whereas I like them both ways. Superheroes can be really funny movies, or they can be really dark movies. Iron Man is a funnier character, generally speaking. That's the way they're choosing to do him in the movies, and so far, I think they're doing pretty damn well. With the exception of 2, which even that isn't terrible. That being said, I do agree with you with the one thing we didn't even readdress, where you said, co-host, that like it seems like everybody's kind of talks the same to an extent. But I think the reason for that, they wanted to make everybody brought up. Now we get to see Pepper Potts actually do interesting things to feel like a real foil to Tony Stark. And I love that. We get to see Happy do stuff that's actually really interesting. And James Rhodes, thank God he finally gets a chance to really be like, sure, like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm a badass too.
Don't forget about me, boss.
That's terrific. All the stuff with the new suit, which is like really one of the running themes throughout here. Like he's trying to develop this super new technology that's where he can call his suit to himself in pieces, where it can function on its own, is really neat. And there's a lot of bits in there that are just super cool, and there's a lot of bits in there that are pretty fucking funny. There's a bit where he's escaping from captivity, and one piece at a time he's getting like a piece of the suit and having to figure out how to fight just using those pieces. And I was like, wow, that was really inventive as hell. Just amazing sequence. There are flaws, and I admit that like I would be giving this a high full price if it wasn't for that big plot hole, which really took me out of it. I mean, they probably could have fixed it with a line of dialogue, but the moment that scene, last action scene started, I went, wait a minute.
I got to find out what this scene is. So what do you get?
But I loved this. I had so much fun. I laughed. I cried. There's even the fun, like, little tribute during the end credits to, like, sort of 80s superhero television shows.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Which I thought was terrific.
Yeah, the end credits were like the Iron Man 70s TV series.
Exactly. But no, I give it a full price. This is a great movie and a worthy successor to Phase 1. This is the beginning of Phase 2.
Oh, that's right.
And so far, all I can say is fuck yeah.
All right. Well, I would hang out with y'all a little bit more, but I got my Iron Man suit coming in. Everybody can be Iron Man, even me. Granted, my Iron Man suit is only 6 inches tall, but I'm going to fit in it one way or another.
I'm going to offer the choice. Do you want an empty life or a meaningful death?
You're not a man. You're nothing more than a maniac. I'm not afraid of you. No politics here. Just good old-fashioned revenge. We do need backup.
That's your department.